Okay, so this is our event flow today. Sorry that we start a little bit late, and the session is starting by Dr. Julian. He will mention about how computing is taking the world by storm, and followed with Miss Sylvia and Dr. Julian on why study computing science with University of London. And also we have invited our corporate partner, Superhand, come over to share a bit about their career and insight about the industry as well. Okay, so let us introduce a bit about Dr. Julian and Miss Sylvia. Dr. Julian is actually our senior lecturer and course leader from Singapore Institute of Management, and Miss Sylvia, the assistant director of higher education from SIM under University of London. Dr. Julian will be sharing on how computer is taking the world by storm, and Miss Silver will be sharing why study computing science with University of London.
How computing is taking the world by storm. So you will see that actually quite a lot of things in the near future, in fact, currently is happening. So we actually rely a lot on computer. Just give you some example. So I'll be using some of the, let me see. So I'll be using some of the slides from World Economic Forums. If you see, this is really the future of jobs report 2020. This is the third release from WEF. Usually in this kind of report, there will be some prediction what kind of skill are needed in the future, and also skill that no longer will be needed in the future. You will sort of like see this thing. Currently, I'll probably, because this is report is about 100 pages, so probably I just zoom in into some of the probably more relevant stuff like in Malaysia and emerging and declining jobs. We're talking about within the 5 years. So you will see this, okay? And the full report, you can get it. If you can see, I have the URL. You can download it. It's free. So this is, I think, quite a useful report for all of us. So if you take a look at the next slide that I have, if you see this, okay, I probably would slow down over here. If you see here, this is on the top left, we have technology and sector. And the first row, the row over here, these are all sectors. So we have like agriculture, and this is automotive, consumer, etc. So you will have like a lot of different sectors. And over here, the columns over here, the first column, these are all technologies. So for example, if you have a business or maybe a family business in agriculture, you will see what kind of technology actually it depends on. You will see that actually some industry depend more on technology. For example, this, of course, this is talking about digital communication and technology information. You will see the green thing over here is actually the number quite high, you will see. And when you have the dark, this dark green, right, higher. When you have dark brown like this is actually lower. You will even see that actually each industry, say you have family business in agriculture, this is probably you will depend on cloud computing. This is 75% of it. If you see the future, this is really about here. Okay, so if you see this is really cloud computing, you will see that actually the numbers are very quite high for all sectors. And of course, say if you're doing some manufacturing, so you will see that actually a lot cloud computing as well. And we will see here Internet of Things. Internet of Things is another one that actually is picking up. So these are the sort of thing that actually we have. So most, if not all, industry that we have actually really need to use computer and the reliance of computer in everyday life. So you will see quite a lot of thing over here. I probably leave for a while over here. If you okay, by the way, just now I kind of like quickly jump in, just afraid that I don't have enough time. But I realized that actually I have more time. So let me see the actually okay, let me see actually By the way, I just want some of the participants probably, if you can actually ask me questions. So, for example, if you have burning questions now, you can actually ask me. For example, later on, I will talk about the three different degrees that we offer, and some of you probably would like to jump in and ask me which degree is good and what sort of thing. So the next slide over here, if you see, I focus on Malaysia. In the report, just now I mentioned this report about future of job. There are a lot of countries. So of course, in Malaysia, we have the working population over here. This is actually 16 million currently, the working population. And these are the education and skills. About like 66% over here, we have like people with really digital skills, and you can see quite a lot of things. And I probably would like to jump into the impact of COVID-19 on company strategy. If you go, I have like yeah, animation over here. So this is really because of COVID-19. This is 100%, you see, accelerating the digitalization of work process. So we cannot but rely on technology now. For example, this used to be like face-to-face event when we can see you, then probably you won't be that shy, okay, because we can see you. But now we conduct it over computer. And there's quite a lot of things over here. These are all the emerging and redundant job roles. So if you take a look at the emerging, again, I will scroll a bit. If you see here, the emerging jobs in Singapore, most of the emerging jobs over here, this is really computer related. You will see currently the first one is actually data analyst and scientist, and this is followed by strategic advisor and Internet of Things. This is all computer, Internet of Things, digital transformation, of course, computer. You will see that actually most, okay, I think about 8 out of 10, these are all computer related. While those redundant skill includes like data entry and administrative work as well as accounting. This is very interesting that actually I found 2 weeks ago, I actually conducted one of the session for master degree, and I have parents that actually currently actually the students with us learning accounting, and the parents force kind of like force. We should stay quite long because the parent really want to convince the kid, the son, to really take this data analyst. I think probably the parent knows that actually this is going to be probably redundant, which I don't think that, okay. So I would still see some of the values of this degree, even though you see over here accounting, bookkeeper, and human resource, etc. So again, number 9 over here, you will see accountants and auditors. So some of you will think that actually probably is not a good way to actually send you this is your children's to study compute accounting or some other auditors. So probably I would agree in certain sense. Actually, computer can help us with it now. The checking and balance all with the computers. Computers can do a very good things of record keepings. But again, I think human is still quite important. So here I just really leave it to you to take a look. Some parents, they do think that actually this is going to be redundant. So I always ask the parents, if you are parents over here, so if your kids really like accounting and don't like computers, there is, even though today I'm talking about, I'm hoping that you enroll in our program. I just think that actually your child really wish or whatever they want to learn is actually the most important thing. And this, okay, I continue now, okay. And this over here, the emerging skills over here includes emotional intelligence. So this again, very difficult to obtain. This I would say very difficult to obtain this kind of skills. Okay, some of you actually have this more of this skill than the others. So let's take a look at overall. Okay, these, okay, worldwide. Just now we're talking about only Malaysia. If you take a look at worldwide, this the top 10 over here. actually, this is the top 10 works with increasing demand. If you see here, there is no, this all over here, 10 out of 10 over here. Okay, these are all computer related. Data analysts, we use computer. AI and machine learning, we offer it in our computer degree. Big data, we also offer the course in London. So this is again the top 3, we offer that. Digital marketing, you still use computer. So this is a really intersection between business, marketing, and computer. Process automation, this is what we call RPA. This is actually again computer, and some of the UI path. I think probably some of you heard about that. RPA stands for robotic process automation. So this is all computer, business development professional. Here again, intersection between business and computer. Digital transformation, yes. Information security, yes. Software, yes. And Internet of Things, again, these attends actually according to the, just now we mentioned, right? The World Economic Forum. These are the job of the future. While the decreasing demand, if you see again the same thing, we see accounting, accountants, those sort of things. Okay, factory working. So we know that now we really rely a lot of uh, computer technology. That's actually why I'm here, trying to really uh, instead of like selling, really we really concerned about the future. If you're thinking about what degree to take, I think probably honestly, a computer currently is in the next 5 years, I would still see is a very, very good degree to get. So far, any question, guys? No. Why computer is very, very this is important degree to get? Last time it's about like 30 years ago. When we talk about computer, people will say, you're learning software or hardware. Okay, it's hardware, probably you're hardware specialist, software, you're software specialist. But nowadays, this selectively choose this role. In fact, there are a lot of roles that actually very long, can be 2 pages. I don't include that. These are probably currently the most really demand this job. You will see data scientist, data engineer, web developer, and these you will see here. This is more than a dozen. And of course, I mentioned to you the job roles of this computer graduate is more than this. I really have like 2 pages of this. It's really a lot. It's not like 30 years ago, we only say, what do you learn? Software or hardware? But nowadays, it's like got a lot of things over what you can do. And if you see here, what I'm currently having, there are 4 different job. Just the first one actually is cybersecurity. You see the minimum salary, this is 120,000 per year until 300,000, 400,000. And this is real job. You will see the job is being offered currently. The second one, if you see, this is project manager. Again, it's about 90, this I'm talking about, this is actually ringgit. Okay, so again about like 400,000. And data scientist job, again about 90K to, you will see that this is actually high pay job in Singapore, and this is in Sing dollar, and you will see again about 60,000 to 200,000. So these are the really high paid, okay, the sort of job that you can get currently. So anybody has any question about this? So this is real. You can find it in Glassdoor. Those are very, very, I think, high paid job, I would say. Hopefully, any question, guys? No? So,
Maybe
okay.
they're all looking at the website.
Where's Dr. Lin from? Me? Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. Introduction. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Nelson. So, you will see my accent. Okay, when I take this taxi in Singapore, right? When I speak Chinese, people immediately say ask me, "Hey, you are from China, is it?" Because my accent is really like not like local Singaporean. They will always ask me actually whether I'm from China. But when I speak English, people will say, Julian, you are from Singapore, no, from Philippines, is it? So they're all incorrect. Okay. I okay. I was born in Jakarta, Indonesia. So that's where I'm born. And then I went to Taiwan. I stayed there 10 years. That's why when I speak Chinese, people will think that actually I have like Chinese accent. And I then after getting my bachelor degree, I went back to Jakarta and worked in the oil company as a consultant. And then after that, I went to Australia, get my master degree, and went to Singapore PhD degree. So all my degrees actually cool. Okay, all my degrees actually I got it by scholarship. So here Chong Yi Han mentioned to everyone, where is the career path in long term? Okay, Ihan, what do you mean by career path, and how long is the long term? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's why I like some interaction where you can immediately tell me what is it. If you want to really turn on the microphone, we can have some interaction and probably I'll be able to address that. Chong Ihan, would you like to say something? Or I address this later on when you have
10 years
more.
to 20 years.
Sorry again?
10 years.
10 years. What do you mean by career path?
Yeah.
You chance to higher
Have chance to promote
to higher position.
to higher position or something, this kind of job.
You mean the job that actually I post on the Glassdoor?
Yes.
Okay, so depends. Okay, so I personally think it really depends. Okay, this is something that actually we still don't understand. I think a lot of there's a company over here doing data science and AI. We still try to predict like what sort of people after graduation they'll be able to find. I would say that actually, if you would like to get this kind of salary, like 90,000, it really depends on individually. So when you get good degree, for example, from London, and then you have a lot of experience, for example, during your student day, you already do a lot of this project. You put it into GitHub, you have the portfolio, people see that actually you really have substance. Before you graduate, okay, before you even graduate, I do have some students, okay, they actually, before that they graduate, Facebook actually approached them already. And the salary, I would tell you, actually quite high for the fresh graduate. So it really depends on individual. I wouldn't say that actually fresh graduate, you won't be able to get the salary. It really depends on how good you are. Is it answering the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Actually, this is really interesting, Dr. Lin. You know, Ihan touched on a good point. Where do you start off? And later on, I think when Superhand comes on to share, I think it will be a question that maybe they can also address as well. What prospects there are in terms of someone getting into the industry, what kind of jobs you get for a start, and then as you progress, what kind of jobs you will be. One thing we find with our graduates is, you know, sometimes, in fact, just now, Dr. Lin, I unmuted myself when you shared the slide about the auditing and the accountants and that how the demand is on the decline. Quite a lot of our computer science graduates get jobs in finance companies, not as accountants or finance managers, but in the IT support, in software engineering. Yeah, because we still need audit firms. You know, in Singapore and KL or in Malaysia, you know about the big four audit firms. So you always think that, oh, it's only for the accountants who graduate from SIM. But no, we actually have our computer science graduates who go and work in the audit firms as well. In management consultancy, in the IT department, not just in audit. right? So these are areas that you can explore. Yeah. So let's continue, Dr. Lin. Back to you.
Thanks, Sylvia. In fact, that's quite true. Currently, the high-paid job actually to become auditor, there's something called information security auditor. That's a very, very high-paid job. And of course, you need to have some background in accounting, auditing, so you'll be able to form jobs like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say totally when you have accounting degree, especially there are a lot of parents over here. They always encourage parents to really fulfill what their children's really want. If their children don't like computer, no point to actually force them, even though you know that actually we have a very, very high paid job like this. Okay, yeah. So
No,
can I?
Dr. Lin,
Yeah.
I think nobody would say they don't like computer. They all love computer because they love
Okay.
to play games. They love games. Yeah, so it's not that they don't love it. Yeah, it's what to do with it. And sometimes, because I love to play games, for example, I think that I want to go into games development. That's one thing. I play it all the time. I know it so well, the virtual environment. So they want to make games development their career, for example. So that is one possibility. So in Singapore, for example, the polytechnics, there are diplomas in just game development. And if you go online also, there a new industry has been created in the last 10 years because of the game industry. Yeah. And then how AI has been in the limelight, data science has been in the limelight ever since COVID came on, came on the pandemic, because we are using data science to see how we can automate and see how we can help ourselves. Sending the robots to go and observe the different patients, sending the robots to actually give medication to the infected COVID patients, rather than the nurse go and oh, it's time to take your medication. These are things that's why the industry is booming. Yeah. So I'm already jumping ahead of what I wanted to say later on. So that's why maybe unless there are other questions right now, I think this is a good opportunity for you to, Dr. Lin, for you to talk maybe a little bit more about the University of London Computer Science. And, I'm also reminded that last year we started the computer science course in April. And in October, for our second intake, our number of students jumped by 10 times. Okay, jumped by over 10 times. We started small with 25 students. By October, we jumped to over 250 new students. Okay, and then we started again a few months ago. By then, Dr. Lin was with us in April. And we are now, my colleagues are also very excited because we can see the high number of applications applying for October intake. So maybe, Dr. Lin, I can invite you to share a little bit more about the Com Science program, and then that would spur a little bit more questions from our audience, and then we can
Yes.
continue the conversation.
Exactly. So, okay, the next slide is about really our program in SIM. So why study CS with us over here, right? So if you see my background over here is University of London, Goldsmiths program up here. So first thing first, if you see here, we really take a look at what is the trend today. So we offer first a very, very general program like computer science, which always relevant. Okay, so this here, we all, as I mentioned, this is very, very general. And we also offer these two very, very hot. And then we also, Sylvia and the top management, we are planning to have more like cloud and then Internet of Things. So you will see that those are very, very high demand. If you take a look at earlier the stats that we have. So currently these are three programs, right? It's three programs. These are very, very hot, I would say. So the difference between them, I make it very, very simple. computer science, I mentioned to you, this is general degree, which allows students to develop a wide and practical skill in the computer, okay, with strong programming and mathematics skills. So usually after graduation, you'll be able to do quite a lot of things. So you can still do machine learning, you can do cybersecurity, you can do cloud, and you can do quite a lot of things. On the other hand, when we have a very, very specific degree like machine learning and artificial intelligence, so these actually enable those people in industry. For example, later on we have one company actually doing the AI. So they actually really look at those students. That's why they partner with us before they graduate. So by getting this degree, students will be able to apply a range of technical problem solving these things. Okay, just now I saw that actually we have presenter doing the data labeling using machine learning, those sort of things. Those are the things that currently in demand. Okay, this actually the typical job that you'll be able to get as actually machine learning engineers, AI engineers. Again, the web and mobile development is still another popular domain where we train our students to really develop application in Androids and iOS. You know, right? Currently, quite a lot of people earn the money, okay, just by publishing their own mobile application. If mobile application good, people will buy. It's true. Like probably costs like $5, but think about like 1 million, 2 million people using it. So it's actually more than that. Actually, our salary over here. So these are the things that actually we hope to impart our students so they'll be able to do mobile application development. So I have one question over here. Ihan, you can actually turn on the microphone. So need graphic design and drawing skill. This is very, very interesting. Okay. Yes and no. Okay. So why I say yes and no depends on the mobile really application that you would like to have. If the mobile application really providing data, as long as you format the data in a way that actually people can get it immediately, you may not need to have graphics design. But of course, if your application actually really heavily rely on graphics. For example, there's some map, some of the, say you are selling something, right? You're selling this m-commerce, mobile commerce. And of course, you need to have your product attractive. And then you need to put the product, for example, some of the product, like supermarkets, right? They put the products, those that actually they want you to buy, they put it on eye level. When you see it, you immediately buy it. Those actually very, very popular already. They put it very low or very high up. So they know that actually people will actually look those product, even it's not on the eye level. So this sort of thing, actually, the graphic design can actually help. They make this a certain product more prominent. When they see it, it's just like in supermarket, eye level products, usually people will get it. So when you have the mobile application like that, you need to rely on graphical design where you can actually produce this so-called the product that actually people can see immediately and people can buy and put it in their shopping cart. So those sort of things. Hopefully this answered the question. If not, you can turn on the microphone. We can have it like yeah, conversation. Ihan? I guess you're okay with the answer. Okay, let me continue with this. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the structure of the program, all 3 years. So you will see that the first 2 years, year one and year two, we all take the same thing. The first row over here, this is the 3 program that we are offering: general computer science and machine learning and artificial intelligence. And this is actually on the row, and then web development. So if you see here, year one, year two, there is no separation. Only year three, you have some separation over here, what sort of thing that you need to take. So year one is a very, very like basic essential module that you need to take, like algorithms, discrete math, programming one, programming two. These are all 8 modules. All of us, whether you are in computer science, machine learning, mobile development, you all need to take this. Okay. Year two is the same thing. This is actually continuing from year one. You actually really would like to deepen your knowledge on algorithm and computer security. This is a very, very hot topic and very well-paid job over here. And you database network and the website over here where you can learn the big data. Just now you see big data, right? In the top 3. And graphic programmings over here. This is actually Ihan just now asked about. We do train our students in doing some graphics and object-oriented programming, etc. So you will see these 16 modules we all need to take, because this is really the fundamental before you can actually go into some very, very specific domain. Okay. For computer science degree, you are actually free to choose on the basket that we have. So you're free to choose like from here, from machine learning, 2 and 4 from mobile development. So it's really very, very free for you to choose. You don't have any restriction. As long as you have 6, this is finished, then you'll be able to get the computer science. However, if you're really doing machine learning and artificial intelligence, so you actually need to get this 5 and plus 1 elective. This elective you can choose from anything like mobile development, interaction design, those sort of things. Because you are getting machine learning and artificial intelligence, this AI become like compulsory for you to get. And database, again, you also need to do that. And I would see the actually database and advanced data techniques. This you will see here across. I even recommend those computer science people to learn about database, because why? This is where we store the data. Nowadays, when we use computer, whether you are developing game, you need to save some data. For example, if I play game, currently I'm in level 100. If the data is not saved properly, I start from level 1. Of course, I don't want to have it, right? So this is a very, very important that I would say across all 3 degrees, we need this, okay? This intelligent signal processing, very, very important for machine learning and artificial intelligence. That's why this is compulsory. And of course, machine learning need to learn machine learning and neural network. And NLP is another hot topic that actually people are doing. There's some jobs really only looking at those very, very good in NLP. And as I mentioned, this one elective to say, oh, I like to really deepen my skill about interactive design. So you can choose either this, okay, one of this. While you're doing mobile development, of course, you need to learn some of the web development because it's really the core over here. As I mentioned to you, if you do the e-commerce website, or maybe if you do something like, now I'm looking at my time, I'm a bit worried now. 10:52, okay? So I need to, so okay, sorry guys, okay, very quick, as mentioned to you guys, database and advanced data, again, if you do the m-commerce, mobile commerce, you need to save the shopping cart, for example. You need to save transaction so people can actually check the transaction. That's why this is very, very important. And interaction design. Remember just now, guys, I mentioned to you about the eye level, right? When you go to the supermarket, this is where, okay, yeah, this is where we, thank you, Sylvia. This is where we actually have the interaction design, where we actually, okay, probably what one of the background over here that I need to probably elaborate. According to psychologists, okay, psychologists that learn and study about the IT, okay, they actually look at the eye movement and they have a lot of sensors. According to them, okay, it only takes few seconds, less than 10 seconds for people to decide whether they want to stay in your website or really close your website. So interaction design over here, first, actually, you will learn how to capture people attention so they will be able to stay more than this 10 seconds. Okay, when they stay over here, and then you have a lot of interaction that actually you make them stay on the website, so they are really can buy, or maybe the game that you design can really have some very, very meaningful interaction. Those sort of things, we train our students to be able to do that. Okay. And mobile development, I mentioned to you, you'll be trained to do some Android application and some of the Apple applications. And the 3D graphics and animation, of course, we need to have some animation in our interaction design over there. This is all interlinked, I would say. So those sort of things that actually you need to have for these 3 degrees. After you finish these modules, there's one module very, very important you need to take. This is what we call final year project. Okay. This depends on your domain. If you do machine learning, the final project, you need to do it in machine learning topic. You can't say, okay, I do machine learning for my this specialization, but I would like to do mobile and web development project. So it won't really glue that well, I would say. So I would really encourage you, before you do this final year project, you already have some experience. As I mentioned to you guys, why some of the people before they graduate, Facebook actually approach them. Okay, that's because before they even do the final project, they've done a lot of small project and showcase to the world they could do very, very good projects, a lot of projects in a very, very maybe short times. We talk about agile development, right? Where we use very like very, very short times to develop certain things. So those sort of things they actually be able to use it for the final project. So I want to really encourage you to do final project only in the final year. I would really hope that whether you're in computer science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, or web and mobile development, before you even start the final year project, you've done already some project. So you have something already, so which you can actually implement. And of course, if you don't have, so we again, this is our responsibility, right? As a lecturer, right? We will guide you. So you don't have to worry if you don't have anything. I just hope that actually our graduate, this is really, we are pushing that our graduate to be able to find job immediately, or maybe before they even graduate. Some of the company already waiting for them. So this actually, as really educator, we hope our students really to get job, like 96% of graduate will be able to get job. We really hope that we train you so that before you even start your final year project, some company already approach you. This is our hope as educators. So that's about the program structure. So the last one I
Dr.
would like
Lin?
to, yep.
Dr. Lin, maybe we can share a little bit about the popularity of the program, because sometimes students, prospective students, they will ask us, oh, so which one is the most popular between number 1, number 2, and number 3? Okay. So, so it is true. I think, I mean, everyone is it. Each of you, you are an individual. So you choose what you would like. But if you are asking what is popular and what is not as popular, I would say that seriously, in terms of demand, the 3 programs that you see on the screen now, number 1 is most popular, number 2 is a close second, and then number 3 is not as popular as number 1 and 2. Okay, so this is the order. I think of all the students we have, a good 50% of them are actually in the computer science, the BSc Computer Science. Now, it is not to say that they will, when they reach the 3rd year, they will have 6 electives and they will choose their 6 electives. Because some of them, But before they reach the third year, they may decide at that point in time, maybe I want to choose web and mobile development because, you know, I'm now working as an intern in this company and this is what I want to do. And then they will change and they will add in the specialization being web and mobile development. Okay, so the University of London does allow students to make a choice towards the end of the second year to do a switch. But for SIM, because you know our system is such that we have a structure, you know, our computer system is such that we have a structure and we want our students to follow the structure and not go all over the place. When the students come in the first year, they will have to declare what it is that they would like to do. So if it's computer science, we'll put you on that track to make sure that you keep to this track unless you opt to transfer out. Okay, so in terms of a popularity, that's the situation. Yeah. Yeah, so any other questions about the three structures? I thought Dr. Lin has gone through quite thoroughly the different modules that as computer science students would have to do. And we refer to whether you're doing machine learning or web and mobile development as a computer science student as well, a CS student.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. I think that's make my job easier. So, any other questions, guys, that you would like to ask me? No
I think,
questions.
yeah, maybe we just move on to the next slide and we will
Okay.
allow time for questions also.
Okay, great. So the next one that I have, let me see whether I still have the control over the slide. Yeah. So this is actually how we deliver our CS program. So we have 2 semesters per year. So we start in April. This is the first semester, and in September. The second semester we start in October and ends in March. So these are all computer-based pedagogy. What does it mean? Okay, I need to explain a bit. So University of London, how we do that, the degree. So they do have all the material online. Okay, yeah. So you can actually say you think this is quite an easy program. Say you say I know that some of you have some, for example, experience even before you enroll in our program. Some of you do have some experience in programming, for example, Python. I know currently my students, they have like some of them have like 6 years of programming. They are very, very good. So they could just finish this so-called 22 weeks. This is the program that I mentioned earlier. This is actually computer based. We do have it already ready over there for students to immediately start from week 1 to week 22. So what happened to with that students? That students only probably use 3 days or maybe 1 week. I think 3 days is really not really exaggerating. 22 weeks of this so-called material, say programming in Python, right? So 22 weeks, because he has experience like four, 4 years, 6 years, 3 days finish everything. And he could just focus on other thing that he would like to do. For example, I would like to do some mobile development you can do. So the good thing about computer-based pedagogy over here, we put the material, all the material over there. Okay, we have it over here. So if you like to do it, you can do it using your own step. Okay, and of course, some of the so-called module you are not that familiar. You're probably struggling with mobile development or cybersecurity, where actually when you stuck over there in the week 3, and it's good to have us, and we have a lot of dedicated teachers. Yesterday we just have some award, and Sylvia play the big parts of really appreciating our teachers. Some of them like 30 years, they are good teachers. We have a lot of these teachers. Okay, they are able to help you. Okay, so you stuck in cybersecurity in certain things. Okay, you don't really understand how it works in about networking, about router, etc. So there where you actually come to the class, and of course you can actually say currently in lockdown, even in lockdown like this, okay, you can actually request for the Zoom session from us. We can actually help you face to face as well. So this is the combination between computer-based pedagogy, just I mentioned to you. You have all the material ready. If you are really thinks it's easy, finish it, okay, as soon as possible, and do your own project. Just now I mentioned to you, project, okay, do your own things, okay. So to showcase that actually you are good, so even before you graduate, you can do it. So back to this, okay. This computer-based pedagogy is a very, very good strategy that we have. We put everything over there, so you can really, based on really the skill that you have, you can learn everything very, very fast, or maybe you have stuck on something there where we actually can help you. So our role over here in SIM, we really look really through all the courses that you have. So our teachers I mentioned, they are all very, very dedicated. So this actually really reinforced by face-to-face support. So we do have a lot of this support. This is where we actually we have the value added. We also have a lot of like activities where you can interact with your fellow students, and some of the students, they actually, I do have some of the students actually, their parents actually own a company, and then just happen you're good friends with this. So again, networking is something that I wouldn't really really, this is a, I wouldn't really ignore. This is very, very important component as individual, as students, okay. So yeah, so resources are ready to cater for all levels. Yes, this is actually Yao summarize it very, very good. Okay, so we have like 15 credits per module per semester. This is what we offer. And what type of assessment that we have? We have like 50% of the coursework. This is the project where you need to do project, and we have the final exam. This is 50%. This is type, we call it type 1. We have type 1, type 2, and type 3. So type 2 is really very, very heavy on the coursework. For example, I remember that actually our web development and mobile development, this is type 2. Because why? It doesn't make sense to ask you right on the exam paper how you are doing to go and develop the website and mobile application. We want to see the real product where you actually put it in the store and on the Play Store. We be able to download it and play with it. So that's why we actually have different type of assessment. Some with the theoretical knowledge, we probably would like to really have some examination. For example, we would like you to write some coding, some algorithm. So we do still need to have the type 1 where we have the written exam to see how well actually you actually get the concept. Second type, as I mentioned to you, is really all about implementation. How you create your mobile application, how you put it into the store, and how many people actually download it. And usually this sort of thing, if you can get people download it and use it, and really before you even the end of the semester, this sort of thing, I think immediately out of 100, probably you can get 80 or 90% of it. So again, depends on what kind of course that you have. There will be different assessment. And of course, type 3 over here is talking about the 30% initial, and the final report, they expect you to do the first initial is really they want to see conceptually whether this is really you can implement it. For example, say you want to do some machine learning, they take a look at the first, okay, what kind of research question, what kind of question you would like to do. And if this is really not good, you still have the 70% over there, right? So it's really like, this is really to take a look at whether you are able to produce something good, something meaningful for your project. That's kind of things that actually we have. So we will see that actually the strength of the assessment. We don't only have what one type, actually written exam. we have 3 different types. Is really to really equip you with the knowledge that before you graduate, you'll be able to do certain things. So those sort of things that we have. Okay. So this is the degree that actually you would like to have. This is the same degree even if you study in London. So if you physically go there and go to get this University of London, Goldsmiths, this is the exact this degree that you would get. Okay, so when you study with us, you maybe you study in London, you spend your 3 years in London, you will get the same paper.
Okay, so very quickly, just to share with you, you see, Dr. Lin, we wanted him to talk about why there is such a demand, not just in Singapore, but in Malaysia and the world over. Okay, and you know, our students who come to SIM are not just from Singapore and Malaysia. Singapore, we have for overseas students, we have a lot from Malaysia, we have a lot from India, from Indonesia, and from China. These are the 4 major countries. But you know what? Earlier this year, we had the Myanmar crisis, well, we still have at the moment. And actually, we found that we actually have a lot of Myanmar students actually in the University of London program as well. So therefore, what we're talking about is not just restricted to just one particular country. It is actually the world over. So Dr. Lin talked about, you know, all the subjects that you can do and what each subject allows you to do for your career. And all this is actually developed by Goldsmiths. So this particular slide, all right, the middle row, you see Goldsmiths. Goldsmiths is very important. They are what we call the college or the member institution who looks after the curriculum. And they have tied up with Coursera. Now, many of you know Coursera because, you know, on IG, on Facebook, Telegram, you get bombarded by all these free courses that you could possibly do. And, you know, if you were to come in, we would actually recommend that you do certain courses before you come in as well, just to prepare yourself for the computer science program. So Goldsmiths works with Coursera. They put their curriculum on the Coursera platform. So our students will need to go into Coursera to download, to review. It is your virtual learning environment, okay, for this particular computer science program. So when you upload your work, you also upload in Coursera platform. Now, University of London, as what Dr. Lin showed, actually awards the degree. And the degree, the degree is actually, got a bit distracted there. Okay, sorry, I was switching off my WhatsApp. Okay, the degree is actually awarded by University of London. So you see, University of London is made up of 17 colleges or so. And the very first college was University College London, UCL. So when you Google the ranking of the University of London, you will find that, 没有吗? You know, don't have leh. Why no ranking for University of London? Because you have to look at the ranking of the 17 colleges. So UCL, for example, is very highly ranked. Now, Goldsmiths is not as highly ranked as LSE or UCL. Why? Because they don't have a law faculty. They don't have a medicine faculty. Or even LSE, for example, they don't have a medical school, right? But UCL has law, UCL has medicine. So therefore, when you look at ranking, okay, you always think must look at ranking lah, go for the best lah. You know, that's always the what's in it for me. I want to go for something more branded. But you must understand why the branding is that way. Okay, so Goldsmiths. Now, but what about SIM? SIM is the college or the teaching center. The University of London appointed us as teaching centers. And in the world, there are about just over 30 teaching centers, and not many schools teach for the computer science program. In fact, when the university says, okay, we give you permission, and you permission, many of the schools could not run. I think, in fact, we were only one of two which ran last April. So they have permission to teach. And even in Malaysia, they may have permission to teach, but they cannot run. Only we have been running, and we are now recruiting for our 4th intake in October. Okay, so all right, next slide, please. Thank you. Now, very quickly, just to show the articulation chart. So most of you, if you come in with UEC, you will come in with year 1. But if you have a relevant diploma from a school in Malaysia or in a polytechnic in Singapore or from SIM, you see this orange box on the left here, you can actually go straight into the 2nd year. So it all depends. It all depends. So if you can go straight, very good. But if you cannot go straight, you probably have to do a bridging program, which we organize twice a year, right? So now I have 2 children. One is in national service, just went in, and the other one is in 3rd year NUS, right? So in NUS, I think my daughter, she's starting her 4th year next month in August, and she's studying geography. And I've been thinking to myself, wow, very long. 4-year undergraduate degree, very long. Okay, direct honors for her. But for our program, our students with University of London and for other SIM programs as well, most of the time is a 3-year direct honors undergraduate course. And 3 years, seriously, flies by very quickly as well. Okay, so if you have a relevant diploma, you can actually go into the 2nd year, but it all depends on what you have done and whether Goldsmiths allows you to go straight to 2nd year. Next, please. Okay. All right. Now, these 2 students, just now Dr. Lin and I talked about the program. We talked about CS. But actually, we have been partnering Goldsmiths and University of London, Goldsmiths for 24 or no, I think more than that now. Yes, about 24 or so years, because we started the computing and information systems with Goldsmiths in the 1990s. And we actually have students who study 2 years at SIM and 1 year they go to Goldsmiths to finish off. So these are 2 students who went. Now, in the last 1 year or so, none of our students have transferred to Goldsmiths because of COVID. But if you want to, it's possible. You do either 1 or 2 years at SIM, and then you transfer to Goldsmiths for the final year. Or the boy in blue, he transferred for 2 years. He did 1 year at SIM, and then he went to Goldsmiths for 2 years. Okay, so it's possible. Right? Next, please. Okay. Right. Now, this is Clement. He's actually from East Malaysia. And that's me, okay, a few years ago, a second from left. And I'm sure Yao and Yvonne, and you recognize some of these alumni who are in this photograph, who graduated a while ago. Okay, these are our Malaysian students congratulating Clement and Miao Fen over here, okay, for graduating. Now, Clement, he continued to study, he continued to work in Singapore. In fact, he's now on to the 2nd or 3rd job, and he's now an entrepreneur. He's actually co-founder of a company, right? So after he graduated, he started working for a company in Singapore, and now he has gone on to the next company on his own with some partners to actually start to do a startup. So we are very pleased with our students who come from Malaysia and then they settle down in Singapore. Not all of them settle in Singapore. Some of them go back to Malaysia. And this is another student, Kelvin, okay, who during his work with GovTech, and some of you know GovTech Singapore, it is actually the technology arm for the government in Singapore. And quite a few of our students are working for GovTech, not just Malaysians, but Singaporeans as well. And while he was working with GovTech, currently actually, he's now still with GovTech, he's also pursuing his master's. In fact, let me pause and talk about master's. Now, Dr. Lin is also course leader for a master's in data science that we run with University of London. But you know, And oh, sorry, and it's not a but. We actually have our graduates from our computing and information systems who continue on to our masters in data science. A few of them, and every 6 months, you know, we are not surprised if at least one or two join the master's program. Now, we find it very difficult to get our own graduates in computer science or computing and information systems to join masters because they are so hot. They are in such great demand. As Dr. Lin says, even before they graduate, they get, you know, have job offers. So therefore, when I show this slide, I'm telling you that yes, while we encourage our students to do master's programs, many of them don't do immediately because they want to work, and the job market is so hot for them in a way. They're in such great demand. Okay. Now, in Singapore, when you come to SIM or when you join SIM, now everybody is online for the moment. When you join SIM, please, please, please join the Maxim, the Malaysian community at SIM, because they will love you. They will love you, they'll take care of you. And I use the word they safeguard. Truly, they will envelope you and look after you. They really look after your welfare, right? So I would definitely, okay, you see this young man is in our group here as well because he's now an intern with us, right? So they will look after our Malaysian students. So definitely I would want to recommend that you join the Malaysian Community Student Club. Okay. We also have a lot of our Malaysian students in the Student Ambassador Program. We call it the SA program. So again, another shout out to the student activities that we have. We have actually close to 80 different student clubs and activities. So if you are in SIM in the CS program, you can join the Student Ambassador, you can join the Maxim Malaysian Community, you can join the IT Club, you can join the Data Analytics Club as well. All right, all these are very important for any undergraduate student. And this is also where we see that companies tap on us to find out, you know, hey, Janice, can you recommend people for super hands? You know, now that I know your students better, can you recommend students to join us for our company? And of course, Janice will look to who? Janice will look at the student leaders. Yvonne will look at the student leaders to see who we have who have supported us, who have shown leadership qualities, and we actually recommend them to employers, right? Now, I also want to give a shout out to the Malaysian students who are in our audience today, because you look at this slide, what are we talking about? Why Sylvia talk about Malaysian? Yeah, only 21 ma. Singaporean is 220. Well, okay. This is what this slide says. Now, University of London, the exams are taken by students around the world. How big is the world? Far, far bigger than Singapore or Malaysia. Okay, all right, okay. Far, far bigger than Malaysia. The worldwide, we have many students. But SIM itself, last year, we had 304 students who graduated with first class honors. Now, out of 304, 28% came from overseas and got first class honors from this degree. 72% of the 304 are from Singapore. But when I look at the Singaporean versus overseas students for the UOL program, actually, we have 80% Singaporean in the UOL program. Only 20% are from overseas. And yet the 20%, so many more of them actually get first class honors. And out of those who get first class honors, so imagine the Malaysians who come to us, right? So the Malaysians who come to us, in fact, 2 weeks ago when I did this briefing on a Sunday morning, we actually shared that over 55% of our Malaysian students got either a second upper or first class honors. So bottom line is, we are happy to have more Malaysians because you actually do well in the program. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Yes, Dr. Lin.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, I've seen quite a lot of Malaysian students. They are very, very good. They are very quiet, just like you don't want them to talk, and then
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
you
have
just
we
do.
have that's right. I think I also find that the Malaysian students who join the ULL program, they have something about them. They want a good class of honors. So that's why they work hard, right? Because you see, at the end of the day, what do you want? You want a qualification that you are proud of. Whether you join the Wollongong program, okay, we have a Wollongong program where we have big data as a specialization, but our University of London program, we don't have big data, but we have machine learning and we have web and mobile development. All right. So the audience today, you have joined us because you're interested in computer science or computing or IT. And we hope that this morning we have shared a little bit with you about the University of London range of computer science programs. Now, ask us anything. We have already been inviting you for the last 1 hour to ask questions. Type if you are shy to unmute yourself. Anything? Or Yvonne, Yao, Jakiro, Sean, Janice, anyone who has questions for us? Winsley, I thought I saw you too. Ted.
Miss Silva, there is a question.
Yes.
Technology, I think this, oh yeah, technology progress changed rapidly. What is the possibility of being replaced by fresh grad after a job for 3 to 5 years time?
Okay, so you're wondering whether you will be obsolete, right? 3 years or 5 years after getting the degree. Dr. Lin can probably add a little bit more. Let me just say that, SIM, we believe in lifelong learning. We open doors for you. So like Clement and Kelvin, who have come from Malaysia and they are now working in Singapore, we open doors for them to actually work in Singapore. And you have the advantage because many Malaysian students know Chinese. And I know of one audit firm, for example, they actually only wanted to come to SIM to hire, of course, Singapore students, but also Malaysian students or those who can speak Chinese. Why? Because they have clients in China. Okay? And it's not just accountants that they were looking for IT as well. Because when they open up their office in China, they will send their IT staff to actually help with the setting up of the office. So who will they have? Chinese speaking to work with the Chinese in China. Okay, so definitely you need to renew yourself. Especially for IT and computer science, you cannot stay stagnant. I mean, when I started my job, there was no mobile phone at all. Okay, so now there is a mobile phone. There are new degrees. All right, Dr. Lin, please.
Okay, I would agree 100% with Sylvia. Okay, maybe 110%. Okay, it's truly that actually in SIM, our president recently mentioned actually we will actually make this lifelong learning one of probably the largest in addition to the global education. So we do think that actually no matter what kind of degree that you get, you still need to really deepen yourself. You cannot stay there after you get the degree for like 3 years, 5 years. You just cannot do that. Okay. Uh, it really depends again. If you say you don't really like to study again, so when we're talking about this, I do have some these students that actually they prefer not to study. That those actually probably after 5 years, probably you already climbed to the middle management, top management, where those technical knowledge may not be that important for you. So you already start managing people because you already know computer. So again, I wouldn't think that you easily to be replaced by someone new because why? You have organization knowledge, what we call organization memory, where other people that just join, they don't have any. And then you already gain the trust. 5 years working in a company. So talking about your 5 years working in the company, usually those people that don't really like to study, which actually I would say it's actually very, very important. But if you really don't like study, those kind of people, they usually don't like to change the job as well. So if you're there for 5 years already in a company, most probably your boss already trust you a lot. So I think you will climb probably into middle management or top management where you really only need to manage people. So really depends on what kind of who you are. So I just give my example about me myself. When I get my degree, my bachelor degree in Taiwan, so immediately I start working as a consultant, IT consultant, and then I start thinking about just like Sylvia mentioned, right? In technology, we can't stay stagnant. So I've been thinking about it because every year, not even a year, maybe that time still a year. Every year I need to get new certification. Okay, in IT there are a lot of certification. This new certification. Even now I'm still pursuing certification because who am I? Okay, so I think very tiring that time. I know that actually I work on weekends, stay in clients really place. Okay, I work in the oil field, so we have chopper go to one place and stay there on the weekends. So I feel very tiring. I thought IT probably is not a good really industry for me because why? Need to keep really learning and learning. And I apply master degree, hoping probably I could teach and then I don't need to learn new things. I was wrong. Okay. I even need to learn more things.
Well,
So
that's why we are in business, right? Because SIM, a lot of students come to us to upgrade and to do postgraduate qualifications and all. Yeah. I think we're going to hand the time back to Yvonne, who's the master of ceremony. Okay. Back to you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Miss Silva. Thank you, Dr. Julian. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Julian and Miss Silva, for the insightful sharing on computer science and the emergent trend, as well as the difference of computing studies. So the Bachelor of Science Computing Studies degree is awarded by University of London, UK, and developed by member institution Goldsmiths, UK. So if you still have any other question, feel free to drop us an email. We'll come back to you after that. And next, we'll be moving to our next session. We will be moving to our corporate sharing by our partner, Superhands. So we are happy to have Superhand with us today. Superhand is the leading end-to-end data labeling partner for machine learning and artificial intelligence companies. So today we have Grace, the data science lead from Superhand, Amelia, the product designer, DJ, the senior business operation analyst, and Sophie, people human specialist. So I'll hand over to you, Sophie. Can you share a bit with us regarding Superhands on the careers and also experience and so on?
Thank you, Sylvia, and Dr. Lin for sharing earlier, and thank you, Yvonne, for introducing us. So as mentioned, I'm Sophie, the People Operations Specialist here at Superhands. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So today I'll be taking you through what Superhands is all about, whether you're familiar with the name Superhands or not. So our team here today will be taking you through a bit about our career journeys and also the career opportunities that are available with us. Okay, so today I will be taking you through our services, our mission, as well as our company background and timeline. Okay, so in terms of what we do at Superhands, so essentially, as Yvonne mentioned, we provide end-to-end data labeling services. So what we do is we partner with different companies in the AI and machine learning space across various different industries, such as e-commerce, retail, robotics, agri-tech. And essentially what we do is our mission is to accelerate the development of AI by labeling data for machines. So Mark Ko, our CEO and co-founder of Superhands, said, to put it simply, our aim is to make AI accessible to the world. So this is our overarching mission. And in terms of what we do, each of our speakers will be sharing our respective roles to contribute to this mission. So in terms of how we got here in the Superhands timeline, originally in 2014, Superhands started off as a virtual assistance platform. So clients would outsource their tasks to us. And this is why we are called Superhands, because they would rent a hand, hence the name Superhands. Since then, we've realized that a lot of companies were outsourcing data labeling tasks to us. And so we decided to focus on that specific area. So now our business model has pivoted. So we're not currently outsourcing any tasks, and we focus on helping companies to train their machine learning systems, regardless of what industry they're in or what kind of client we're working with. So in terms of how we do this, there are several factors that are involved in the entire data labeling process. So it's a very time-consuming process. It's very human-intensive. And so a lot of our clients are concerned about the quality of the training data, as well as the whole management of the process. And so this is what we do for them by leveraging off our existing workforce of super agents. So you might be wondering, who are super agents? What are they? So essentially, they are our community of crowdsourced agents who actually go onto our platform online, and they will actually do the data labeling work for us by completing several tasks. And internally, we do check the accuracy and quality checks to make sure that they are doing the work accurately. So in addition to that, we also have our in-house platform and tools that we use, and we provide the management of the entire data labeling project and process. So essentially what we offer to clients is providing them with high quality data to accurately train their machine learning models. And some features of this are promising speed, accuracy, and work at scale as well. So as Ivan mentioned, these are our speakers for today. So you'll be hearing a lot about what we do at Superhands and what it's like to work here firsthand from our team. So firstly, Grace, who is our data science lead, will be taking you through her role, followed by Amelia, who's our product designer, DJ, our business operations specialist, and finally, I'll be sharing a bit about my experience in the people operations team, as well as some of the career opportunities available to you, regardless of if you're a computer science graduate or you're thinking about pursuing a different line of field. So I'll be handing it over to Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace. Thanks for the introduction, Sophie. And I lead the data science team here at Superhands. I'll be mainly sharing about my career journey, what we do as the data science team here at Superhands, and some tips on how to stand out. Fun fact, I actually come from software engineering background. Why software engineering or programming? There were, of course, a lot of reasons, but for me, it was partly because I'm rather introverted. So I thought I just wanted to stick with computers where things are, binary, either works or not, and life would be simple. Obviously, my thoughts and opinions have changed over the years. Hence, I thought it would be interesting to share what helped me change over the course of my career. Okay, so I actually got a few job offers from corporate and startup companies before my final results were out, and I ended up choosing a corporate software house job. At the time, I was looking for something that had more structure. I know there's a lot of red tape and processes in a corporate setting, but I was hoping that there are good reasons behind that, and I could learn on what to look out for since there is more clearer step-by-step procedures. It was like stepping into my comfort zone when I started. I didn't deal directly with clients. I mainly dealt with business analysts and technical people who spoke my technical lingo. So there was consistency, and I really liked that about my first few years. But later, I also learned that there's still such a thing as change requests. So that's where perhaps halfway in a project or a feature, there were significant changes to a requirement. Back then, I was pretty attached to my code. And when the change request came in, it felt like it was erasing all my hard work, So I felt a little demotivated, but a major lesson I learned from that was that your work and your code is not your identity. You are not your code you write. In your career, as you progress, you're meant to be improving your code anyways. When you look back at your old code, you should be able to see how much you've grown and improved over the years. So displace all that, holding on to the past with a growth mindset. So from there, I learned to change, and that change is a good thing. Anyways, a couple years later, I decided to try out a startup instead, and I actually heard of Superhands from my uni mate, and she was raving about the working culture. So I thought I had to just see it for myself. And this might sound biased since I'm still working here, but honestly, I was sold from the start. After my first interview there, they let me stay on and join their share affair, which is something like a show and tell. And it was so cool to see the whole company come together and share about their life and what excites them. So I was like, sign me up. Since then, joining Superhands also exposed me to much more to the open source community. Previously in the corporate company and even in my uni, I worked on platforms, IDEs, and used tools which were all mainly enterprise editions. But here we leverage a lot more on open source tools, libraries, and codes. And it's really amazing to see how many amazing people out there are willingly sharing and collaborating their code in hopes that others can use that code base as a springboard to build better products and features. And that inspired me personally to want to do better and also contribute back to the community. Another thing that I learned was that whatever position I was at, I could be more than just an executor. I was encouraged and expected to be an innovator and contribute my ideas to the company's products or workflow. This is something I really love about Superhands too, is that ideas can come from anywhere and from anyone. We're open to different and new perspectives. That diversity in perspective is what makes us strong and addresses what otherwise would have been a blind spot. So my first 1.5 years at Superhands definitely flew by so quickly. I was learning so much in such a short period of time that 1 month here felt like 3 months at a corporate company. Later, Superhands decided to create a data science team under tech and hired a few data scientists. So I was naturally drawn to that since even back then, in my first job, I was involved in business intelligence, reporting, and basically I enjoyed helping people to visualize data and being able to empower them to make data-driven decisions. So I expressed my interest and volunteered to work more closely with the data science team and providing them with engineering support at first. As I worked with them, I self-learned a lot of machine learning concepts and modeling to be able to fully support them. I realized that this was my passion and I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I'll spend hours after work just learning, reading, coding, and basically having fun with what I was learning. I also started mentoring the data scientists, which eventually led me into stepping up and leading the team. Now that I'm leading the data science team, I've learned more and more of the importance of being user-centric. After all, we're not just solving a problem or showing analysis stats, but we're addressing user pain points and improving our users' quality of life. So it's so important to not just be data-driven, but both user and data-driven. I would say it has been an interesting journey indeed, because I started in my career, wanting to avoid people, sticking to just computers, but now I enjoy getting interesting insights from user interviews and building things I know will have a positive impact on others. Okay, moving on. What do we do as data science in Superhands? Okay, generally speaking, data science is a field which is a perfect marriage between computer science, business domain knowledge, and also statistics. Our goal is to break down complex concepts and be able to kind of implement or explain them to the rest of the team. When I mentioned data science, I think a lot of people think AI, machine learning models. So do we create machine learning models at Superhands? Yes, but that's not the focus. Okay, training and building machine learning models are our clients' goals. And as we are a data labeling company, our focus is on that white square box that you see that we are preparing those data that will be eventually sent for our clients to be able to train their models better. So at Superhands, our data science team focuses on 3 main things. The very first thing is that we actively support projects where there's a need for ML automation or image enhancements. This is mainly to kind of speed up or improve the quality life when labelers are executing their task. So an example of that would be pre-transcribing documents for super agents to review, or enhancing image from the clients so that super agents can better spot target objects, and much more, of course. We provide project-specific data insights and accuracy measurements for our internal project managers as well as clients so that they have full visibility of the quality of our labels. Another thing that the data science team is involved in is the product enhancements. As you know, we have our own data labeling platform. Our team works closely with our internal end users, the developers, the product team to come up with better metrics and to measure the accuracy. We also believe in iterations, and continuously work hard in perfecting our QA and QC workflow so that it meets the quality expectations. Last but not least, we also help provide business insights for our super leaders to make better decisions backed by data. Example of that would be analyzing our pool of super agents. We give insights on the agent diversity, working patterns, working quality, and also give project trends so that our super leaders can make better decisions moving forward. So, as you heard from what was shared previously by the speakers, that the computer science and data science field is getting increasingly saturated and in demand. So how to stand out from the crowd? I would say you have to go beyond just paper qualifications. Don't get me wrong, paper qualifications are important and they give you a head start, but you can't just stop there. So be prepared to get your hands dirty, like what Dr. Lin actually mentioned. Coding and creating your own machine learning models. Don't stop at ideation. There's so many people with ideas, so put yours to a test and run your own POCs, proof of concepts. You'll never know for sure until you try. And if you're not sure where to start, join competitions. Some competitions also share real-world data, and that can really be insightful and helpful. Next, be hungry to learn, but be careful not to burn out. Okay, so there's so many things out there, so many technologies and trends that are upcoming. So if you don't stay focused on if you don't know your focus, you can easily burn out because there's so many things to read and you're just constantly learning and learning. So I would encourage you to actually know your interests, pace yourself, and dive a little deeper in things that pique your interest. You also want to automate as much as you can as you work. So code that you repeat, try and make it into a function or custom libraries. You want to make sure that those code is flexible and reusable. A good tip is to have version control. So especially for data can get messy while you're working with it. So sometimes version control can be a lifesaver. Also, don't reinvent the wheel. Rather than coding something from scratch, look for libraries or code out there that you can build off from. Another thing to just fix your eyes on is to want to make an impact. Be a scientist by nature, rather than focusing on proving that you are right or winning. Stick the truth and the best ideas, even if it's something that you didn't think of. When you're wrong, see it as an opportunity to learn something new. Take interest in your users, invest your time in understanding user pain points. You'll be sometimes surprised to find that some of your assumptions and your hypotheses were incorrect. Even as a data scientist or a computer science major, I'll encourage you to embrace design thinking. Make sure that you present your findings or work in a way that is meaningful and most useful to your end users. Last but not least, expect iterations and changes. Don't get stuck with decision paralysis. So many approaches of solving a problem, not knowing where to start. Start with the best decision you can make at that time and adjust along the way. But also remember to keep your North Star, which is your main goal or your problem statement, so that you don't get lost as you are changing or iterating. Okay, here is my favorite quote. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. And I believe it's so true, because if you love what you do, it's no longer work, but rather fun. It's one of the highlights of Super Hands, I would say. Even though everyone is contributing in their own way, they're also passionate about what they do, and it gives off that super energetic vibe that I really enjoy at Super Hands. So that's all from me. I'll be handing it over to Amelia.
All right. Hi. Thanks, Grace. So hey, everyone. My name is Amelia. I am a product designer at Super Hands, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what my experience was like studying design and how I ended up here doing what I am doing now. I know if you're in this talk, you might already be considering something that's more computer science focused, but I wanted to share a little bit more about how design and creative thinking is still highly relevant in the tech field. So yeah, part one. Do you think you might want to be a designer? When you think of, go back, Sophie. When you think about the word designer, you might think about, Bob Ross or someone who's like painting with a palette. But the reality is actually a little bit closer to this. So a lot of looking, observing, and then planning. Creativity is something that is definitely being applied across a lot of different fields. And since our current so-called tech industry is expanding to touch on lots of parts of our everyday life, design also has a very important role to play in shaping the future of that space. However, before we get into that, since this is a university talk, I imagine a lot of the audience is more on the, still starting out. I wanted to share a little bit about how I got into this role myself. So I did a degree in interactive media design. It is the title itself, you can kind of guess, it covers a lot. It's I actually learned things like coding, Photoshop, Arduino, and so I wanted to share some cool stuff about what I did there. Can you go to the next one? Sorry, am I stuck? Is it an internet thing? I'm not sure. All right, so yeah, I wanted to share some of the random stuff that I did in uni. So like making an Arduino powered sensor monster that I displayed in Shanghai, or even paid voiceover work, and designing a game that, ended up getting a Kancho award. And the reason I'm sharing all this stuff, it's all this random stuff, is I admit by the time I was in year 2 of my degree, I still wasn't sure what I was doing and what I wanted to do. There were a lot of potential opportunities and paths in front of me. And in fact, I have people in my class who ended up doing other work like game design, copywriting. So at that point in time, I was second year, I didn't know what to do, and I had a little bit of a gap. So what I did was I ended up getting an internship. Next. Yeah, so for 2 months at the end of 2018, I was a design intern at a place called BG Design. They are a makerspace. So basically a place where you go and you make things. And during this internship, they gave me the task of like rebuild the website. And by this time, I actually only had experience building kind of really small 2-3 page microsites. And I was faced with a tangled web of about 20 to 30 pages with links that didn't really go anywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm going to research wireframe, and then I'm going to grab the closest person, show them the wireframe, and was like, hey, can you try to sign up for a class and then see how they would do it? And I had a lot of fun. And this helped me realize that lesson number 1, designing a good website is actually so much more than making the layout look good. Basically, you actually need to consider who the various stakeholders are and what do they actually want to get out of this. And then part 2, I like startup culture a lot. So I was working with a lot of young people. They were all enthusiastic about making things. And I realized that this is the kind of environment and vibe that I could really get used to. And number 3, I learned that designers should not get too attached to what you create. It's still something I'm working on, because the internship was only about 2 months and I wasn't able to properly hand over everything. So the current build is not the same as how I pictured it, but that's okay, because I learned a lot, I did my best. And at the end of it, I was a lot more confident that I wanted to focus on, a user experience. And so I went to uni for my final year, and I got back and it was time for graduation and job searching. So I graduated 2019, and at that time I was like, I'm not sure where to start, so I'm just going to create a spreadsheet. I listed a lot of companies on like what they do, where they are, whether I think they're cool or not. And then I sent out a bunch of applications. In the end, I got into Superhands with the role of product design, which leads to the next part. What is a product designer anyway? The TLDR is, so the summary part is, I design a user's interactions and experiences with our products so that they can achieve their goals. But to put it in even more simple terms, I do currently design websites, kind of, because you still access it with a browser, but with a lot of research and thought and, processes put into place. And when I was job hunting, the jobs that I was looking at were more along the lines of different titles. So UI, UX designer or multimedia designer, those are kind of similar, but depending on the company, it might be more visual focused or, focus on different parts. You would be more likely to find product designer as a role in a tech company. So because we have tech products. So moving on, who do I design for? This is a very important thing before we really get into like what I make, because at the core of designing for a user's needs is, who the users are. And here at Superhands, we have 3 main user groups. So number 1, we have our data labelers. Also known as super agents, they do labeling work. And what they need is actually, just complete the work and earn money, right? Our second group is our clients. So these are companies from various industries that need to apply machine learning into their processes, and they need high quality data sets delivered to them. Finally, we've got our internal users. So largely two groups. We've got the BizOps team. You'll be hearing from DJ in a minute. And they are creating and managing and the whole data labeling process to quality check and hand it over to our clients. And we also have a dedicated super agent hub. And these people are in charge of growing, managing, and curating our labeling workforce. And what they need often aligns with what our data labelers and clients need. So now that I've shown you who I designed for, how do I go about that? You might think it's something like getting a brief, like my boss goes, "Hey, Amelia, just make this." But actually, it usually begins with asking even more questions. So yeah, how and what do I design? So I've largely broken this down into 3 categories. The first one is, so let's say we have a feature. A feature is adding or modifying on existing products. And the questions we might ask is, how might our labelers get assigned to projects in an orderly and fair way? Or how can we improve the text in the settings page so that users can understand what it does? And so after asking these questions, we will think and realize that, okay, actually what we need to do is, set up a queue system or just update the copy so that it sounds more natural and easy to understand. The next part is designing products. So a product would be like, we don't have something that already does this and we want to make something new. And the questions we ask is maybe how can we let labelers find answers to frequently asked questions? Or how can we let our clients take a peek into the data labeling process while it's going on? And what we end up making is, we can create an FAQ website that is dedicated for the labelers and they can easily find the answers to the questions they're asking. Or we created a dashboard and we ended up actually making it for both clients and internal users because we realized in the process of asking all these questions that actually they would benefit a lot from a dashboard too. Finally, we have visual things. So the questions are, how might we showcase our new brand styles, something that's a bit more fresh and young? Or how might we build up a library of assets so that we can make things more quickly? And the answer is, or what we ended up doing are, we ended up creating new brand materials that can be used for internal and external purposes with new colors. So for example, this deck is something that I've set up. And then or building a UI library with reusable components so that instead of like starting from nothing every time, we can just copy and paste the things that we need and build much faster. So that is the how and what. And by the end of this, that's a bit of an overview of what I do at Superhands. If that sounds interesting to you, you might be wondering if you need a design degree to be a product designer. Because maybe you're already in a design, like a computer science course. The answer is honestly not really. So product design as a role is relatively new. And I have met product designers who come from a lot of different backgrounds. Do you mind clicking twice? Right. So this varies from the other product designer in Superhands actually came from journalism, but I've also spoke to designers who come from software engineering or sales backgrounds. So you can actually just come into this after you graduate if that is something that you have a deep interest in. However, that is not to say I didn't benefit from the degree I got. So here are some key skills that I learned in uni that I actually do apply every day. Number 1, how to research independently, document my processes, stay organized. Number 2, how to plan out time and work on my own and in a group. Number 3, how to communicate my thoughts and ideas. Number 4, how to give and receive feedback. And however, being in Superhands, there is actually one more skill that is like learning on the job and applying every day, which is empathy. It sounds a little cheesy, but there really is no other more powerful tool for a designer, which leads me to the last slide. Design really is an act of communication, which means you need to have a deep understanding of the person with whom the designer is communicating. And this is a quote from Don Norman from the book, The Design of Everyday Things. This quote to me sums up like the deep empathy that you need to apply every day as a designer. And I really recommend checking out the book if you're curious about just how much design is like everywhere. If you consider yourself to be an empathetic person, if you want to solve problems creatively, but still use data and research to back up your claims, product design might be something that you might want to look into and consider, even if you're not currently studying design right now. So I hope my little presentation has been helpful to get a little bit of an insight on the intersection of design and tech. And I'm happy to answer any questions. But first, let's go to our next speaker, DJ.
Thanks, Amelia. Hi, everyone. My name is DJ, and I'm the Senior Business Operation Analyst here at Superhands. Now, sorry, Sophie, could you go to the next slide? How it all started, right? I think the way I wanted to show this was to actually give you guys a very brief explanation on how the whole journey was, right? And I wanted to go through what are the thought processes that came to my mind the moment I graduated and where I am today, right? So could you go to the next slide? Now, on the side note, before I actually start talking, if you look at the images on the left, those were actually images taken during my time when I was the International Brand Ambassador for the university representing Malaysia. Hence why it looks like a professional images. I did want to actually find a place or a time for me to use these images, but I never had a chance. Hence, what better time to use them today, right? So I graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce, a major in finance, right? And after I graduated, the first three things that come to mind is I want to climb the corporate ladder. I want to work in an advisory field or a banking field, right? And maybe, let me think, I want to do a master's degree. I think these are the main three things that come to every student's mind the moment they graduate. And this is because of your friends or your family who was around you always talk about you should always climb the corporate ladder and you should work your way up there. And I think these are the main three things that always comes to a lot of the students' mind as well. And it was in my mind too. And I was going with the same flow as well, where I was telling myself, okay, corporate ladder, this is what I want to do. But at the back of my mind, there was something that I really wanted to try, which was sales. Hence why, could you go to the next slide, Sophie? This is where I actually began my journey itself, right? I started off my journey in Microsoft Australia as a salesperson, where I sold a range of products, a range of Microsoft products, which include from the Xbox series to the Alienware series, as well as the Microsoft Suite series, where we were talking about teaching people how to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, how to use the pen, what are the new ways within PowerPoint that you can maneuver around during a presentation. A lot of these things within Microsoft taught me a lot of skill sets. So the main three things that I can think of is interpersonal skills, negotiation skills, because you tend to talk to a lot of people and you tend to always tell them, this is the current price, and they always go back, how can you make it better? And over time, you actually realize that the more you talk to people, the more comfortable you are with yourself when it comes to negotiation, right? And the last one is communication. I feel communication is a very key thing on talking to anybody. It's a very important skill, and I feel everybody should experience and learn it and to improve yourself better as well. After I was done being a salesperson, I came back to Malaysia, and that's when I told myself, all right, it's time to get into the corporate thing. That's why I landed my first job in Deloitte, Malaysia, where I was the SAP advisory analyst, where my main job scope was definitely helping client manage a large amount of CRM data, right, within the SAP and Salesforce system. Now, what this actually does is that we were handling a lot of the clients' large data, where it includes the finances, including the paperwork, or some of the additional just data scraping and data cleaning kind of stuff. And these kind of things were something I really wanted to learn from ground up, because where we are today, everything is related to data. Without data, you don't have anything. This even goes to machine learning, the groundwork for data. If you don't have the data and you don't have the labeling for it, your machine is not going to work. You need the data to actually start doing anything or to start off something. And this is where I told myself I wanted to learn from the basic, ground up, and start things, right? And then over time, after working there for a year and 6 months, that's when I told myself, let's make a shift, right? And sorry, Sophie, could you go to the next slide? This is when I took the shift, right? I told myself, let me try to get into a startup, right? I feel like I like the culture in there. And these are the main 4 things that I went through when I was actually applying for a tech startup, right? The first 4 things that come to mind is culture, open mindset, opportunity, grow, and constant learning. Why I say culture is a very big thing is the culture in a tech startup is very different, right, as compared to a corporate one. Everyone is open-minded, everyone is energetic, everyone is fun, everyone is just creative. Like the creative juice is just constantly flowing over and over again. If you look at the image on the right, that's actually our office building right there with writings on the window. We do it everywhere. It's not just on the window itself. It can be on even on like a whiteboard or anything like that, where we always just like writing our ideas out. Everyone has an open mindset, and this is where things get really fun. Like everyone is talking to you openly, willing to listen to your ideas, and nobody shuts you down. I think this is very important for you to grow, because you will always feel part of you that you're sharing rather than you're just keeping it inside. And when you keep inside, you tend to bottle things up, and you tend to lose out emotion side. So I always believe that open mindset does wonders, right? And the last one, when I talk about constant learning, the company is always growing. You're always going to see a new type of challenge, right? And every day you face a new challenge, you're challenging yourself to become a better person, right? So the more challenges there is, the more times you tell yourself, okay, this is going to be exciting. This is something new. I'm going to push myself further to be a better person than I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago. We don't know, right? And it's something you need to drive yourself, like that burning desire that just keeps going on and on and on, right? And eventually I told myself, this is what I want to do, and this is where I am today. So after I came to the shift, this is where I moved into the business operation role, right? I wouldn't say much on the operation end. I would talk more about the project management end, right? So what I do is the points there, right? Managing project from end to end. This is from starting from the scratch of the project. The moment the project comes in, everyone is just talking, right? Everyone's coming up solutioning, breaking down the whole project itself. How do we make this flow of this project this way? So we're drawing it out, we're writing it out, mind mapping it, having multiple calls everywhere. And for me personally, it's the fourth point, working closely with internal and external stakeholders. I think this is a very important thing that a lot of people don't realize it, because at Super Hands, we don't just work as an operation team, we work as a family. Everyone is interconnected, whether it can be from the business development team, to the marketing team, to the tech team, to Grace as well, like she said, the data scientist team. Everyone needs to connect, everyone needs to talk, everyone needs to share ideas. And this is very exciting because everyone is just throwing tons and tons of creative ideas. And even yourself, even though it's not taken into consideration, you are allowed to openly, freely share your idea. And this is actually very fun, because you get to have your thought process flow properly, and you understand how the whole project is going to flow from start to end. You are in there, you are experiencing it. Any issue that you face, you go through it, you share it with other teams give feedback. Everything is very open here, right? And the last one, which is managing a team of project associates. These project associates are actually a team of either can be a part-time student or someone is looking for a part-time job to help out the operation people at Super Hands to do some of the quality checks or some of the guides and those kind of things, where it helps them get some form of exposure before going into an actual role itself. But honestly speaking, I know what you guys want to hear more is what you actually learn from project management, right? And these are main points that I feel that I've learned over my time at Super Hands itself. Communication goes a long way. I know I've repeated this, but it goes a long way. You don't realize how important communication is, because the more you talk, the more you realize that, oh, this is how I'm actually supposed to communicate to people, right? And that's where eventually over time, the more you communicate, the more comfortable you get. That's when you start getting more leadership role, right? And the leadership role just makes you feel like you are growing. And that growth is something that you're going to feel good about yourself, right? And then like the next 4 points, right? Time management, multitasking, analytical skills, and critical thinking. Those are all like a bubble. They all work interconnected. Once you have a way to manage your time, your multitasking skill, and all the other things are just going to flow. Everything is just going to be interrelated, linked, and you are just going to be able to execute any task that's given to you because you are slowly being able to manage your time. I think time management is something very important today, because you have a lot of things that's going on in your mind, and how do you actually finish everything within the day, right? And for me personally, time management is a very important one. Before we go to the next slide, sorry, Sophie, could you go back? If you look on the left-hand side, that's actually a virtual office. So we actually have a virtual office where all of us actually can just go around the whole house. It's a huge house. And if you want to have a chat with anyone, you can just go around, have a chat. You know, if you have any questions, you want to play a short game, you can. Everything is on the house itself. Like I said, out there, it's pretty fun. All right. And what is the last thing I would tell, right? What's the advice that I would give to my younger self? There are 4 advices that I would give to my younger self. So if it's good, next slide. Don't be afraid on taking challenges. I think taking on challenges is something that helps you become a better person, helps you think differently, helps you go outside the box, helps you even push yourself further. And never be afraid of it, because it will always make you feel like you have always held yourself back if you don't take on challenges. Life is full of challenges. Second point, never be afraid of sharing your ideas. You may never know how useful your idea can be. I mean, even though your idea might not be as important, but you know it's out there. You can take like a small percentage of your idea plus the other ideas and combine it from 95 and 5%, 100%, right? So those kind of things, you may never know until you try it, right? And that is what I feel a lot of people should do. Don't be afraid of sharing your ideas. Always just put it out there. The third point, right? Don't worry about finding your passion. Me personally, I always had the thought in my head, right, that I don't know what I wanted to always climb the corporate ladder and stuff like that, but I started out as a salesperson, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do, which comes to the fourth point as well, right? It's okay not to have a plan currently. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started out as a salesperson and I went to corporate, and then today here I am in a tech company, right? And it's okay to feel lost, because at the end of the day, right, everything will come to plan as the way you flow. The way you do work, you will eventually realize, okay, this is something I want to do, or this is something I want to move towards. This is something I want to work towards. And all of these parts are actually very important to just go with the flow. Sometimes, yes, it's good to have the mindset of, okay, I have this goal and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's best to go with the flow as well, so that you don't over push yourself, you don't over commit on anything. And all these kind of things is very important as you move forward. And that's it for me. I'll pass it on to Sophie.
All right, thank you, DJ, for sharing your experiences. So today I'll be taking you through my role as a people operations specialist. I won't be focusing very in depth about it because I understand that most of the audience here are computer science graduates, but I'll explain how we dealt with the COVID situation, which applies to all employees at Superhands, and a bit more about our career opportunities as well. So personally, I'll be taking you through my career journey, first of all. So as a student, as DJ mentioned, I was in that lost phase where I was trying to figure out, what do I want to study? If I decide to, study psychology, am I going to be able to get a job after graduation? And so one thing I realized was that you should really research your career paths. So when I was looking at the different type of career paths you can go to, there's research, becoming a lecturer. You could go into market research, being a clinical psychologist. So regardless of what you study, it's always important to be aware of the career pathways available to you. So that also applies to when you're deciding what to specialize in. So maybe you want to do a computer science degree, but where do you want to specialize in? And a lot of things that can help you make this decision is actually doing internships or part-time work. So Dr. Lin also mentioned doing projects. So finding those opportunities and getting real work experience can actually help you to make those decisions to figure out where you want to go or where you don't want to go. Also, another thing is do extracurricular activities. So be involved in the student life, participate in those 80 clubs that are available to you, and actually find where your passions lie. Not only can you build or develop new skills, but you can also have things to back up your skills. So for example, if you say that you have really strong leadership skills, talk about that event that you organized with 50 people in it and how successful it went. So another thing is to actually attend careers events, talks, workshops, for example, even today, to find out more about what kind of avenues you can take after graduation, or even what internship opportunities are available to you. So this will actually allow you to be aware of possible employers you might want to work with, and also networking as well with those career professionals. And so one way you can do this is actually learn how to use job search platforms. So even in my first year of university, I was already trying to understand how LinkedIn works. And you might be wondering, why is that important to you when you're not really looking for a job yet? But it can actually put you forward and network with career professionals in the line of work you're thinking to pursue. Actually ask them what it's like on a daily basis. How did they figure out if they wanted to go into that line of work? So those are some tools for any students, regardless of what you study. And I hope that you can apply those tips to your personal lives as well when you're trying to make those difficult decisions and you feel like there's a lot of pressure on yourself when deciding what to do in the future. So in terms of being a fresh graduate, something that helped me was actually listening to a lot of resume and career advice, whether it's online or attending events, even having your family or friends take a look at your resume and give you feedback. And that's the best way to learn, by actually, having a second pair of eyes. And in terms of when you're trying to look for a job, some things to consider in terms of corporate culture. I think this is one of the most important factors when you're making that decision that fresh graduates or students might not really realize. So just figure out what type of industry the company is in. That might heavily influence the way they do things, as well as the work environment. So as DJ mentioned, moving from an MNC to a startup environment, they're two very different environments. So startups might offer more flexibility in your routine, more versatility in terms of your job scope, and also just having that energetic environment or more creative environment, that might be something you're interested in doing. If you're looking for a really high salary, like Dr. Lin was mentioning, something like Google, you want all those benefits, then maybe you'd be looking to join a bigger company that can offer you those type of things. And another thing would be core values and beliefs. So this is something, all companies will have their own core values, or say what they are really passionate about, what they can promise to their employees. But one way to actually check this is, do some research. So check out those Glassdoor reviews and see if they actually practice what they preach. And maybe they say they really value their employees' work-life flexibility. But what do the employees say? Are they actually given, that time off when they're, applying for leave? Are they having, really long working hours? What is their experience like? And another thing in terms of understanding the direction that the company is going in is the mission and vision. So trying to understand where the company is going will help you to make that decision of whether you want to join the company. For example, if the company is planning to expand globally and you're looking for an opportunity to maybe work in a different country, live somewhere else, and actually gain an opportunity elsewhere outside of Malaysia, then that might be something you're interested in. And so in terms of my personal early life, working professional career, I do have some key takeaways based on my first job in a recruitment agency. So what I gained from it personally was exposure into how the recruitment industry works. So for me personally, at this moment in time, being in the people operations team, it's really important to know what is a good resume. So I've looked at thousands of resumes, found all kinds of different resume formats, and also seeing what works and what doesn't. So this has really helped me on my job today. And regardless of how experienced or how senior you might be, you'll find all kinds of resumes. Some people might submit a 20-page resume and be a manager at a company. So it really doesn't make you automatically qualified for a position. So you really want to represent yourself fully on that resume, because it's the first impression employers will see. And another thing I feel is very underrated is stakeholder management. So being able to communicate with senior managers can really influence your career progression in a role. So it's important to feel comfortable communicating with managers, the managing director or CEO. I know it might be quite intimidating as a student or fresh grad to think, this person's so experienced, why would they listen to me? But it'll actually help you have those opportunities to discuss your career progression or any initiatives you're thinking of implementing as well. So I think in some of all the key takeaways that I personally have, it's really important to figure out what's important to you. And so, considering all these factors, that's how I decided that, I might want to join Superhands. So what I did was I took a couple of months off after I left my job to actually figure out what will I want to do in the future. And that's a very important decision, and it feels like a stressful one, but actually figuring out what factors are important to you will help you to make that decision. So leading on to my role currently at Superhands. So within the people operations team, we do a variety of things, but essentially our purpose is to empower our people to do their best at work. And so our mission is to be one of the best places to work in the region by 2023. It's an overarching mission that we have. But some of the things that we focus on in order to achieve this is talent acquisition. So attracting and retaining top talent to make sure that we have the right people in our business. as well as employer branding. So how we represent ourselves online, whether it's through our careers website, LinkedIn profile, or even a careers talk like today, and having those university partnerships. And thirdly, so the culture of our company is something that's very, very important to us. So a lot of our speakers have just now discussed, how fun our culture is, how lively it is, and we're a bunch of creative people, and we try to always have different initiatives to engage everyone in our company and make sure that they are working together. So this is 3 of the things that we focus on. I won't go into depth about the other areas, but in summary, this is an overall view of what we do in the people operations team. So in terms of how we dealt with COVID, so we've faced a lot of issues that have, arisen because of COVID, and a lot of companies have, been struggling to deal with the pandemic as well. But one advantage we actually have over all the other employers is that we've actually been, we've had the privilege of managing a remote workforce, whether it's with our clients, super agents, or even, being able to have work from home options. So what we've done is actually implemented a hybrid work model that can continue to offer flexible work options for our employees. So we've actually interviewed a lot of our staff to figure out how many days they might want to go into the office, how many days they might want to work from home. And that's actually helped us to build this model where we'll continue to provide the best work environment for everyone at Superhands. And moving on from that, in terms of hiring, we've continued to hire our staff. We're still looking for people to join our team. So it hasn't stopped our growth in terms of taking our business where it wants to be. So we've even hired people internationally from countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, and even Tanzania. And we're continuing to consider virtual or remote work opportunities as well. In addition to that, engagement is something that's very important to us, especially during the pandemic when a lot of employees might feel like they're very socially isolated or lonely while they're working from home. So what we've done is continue to organize activities where our team can meet, have some time off of work where they do something fun and interact with our team. So in terms of social distancing, we can still, be physically distant, but socially close, as I like to say. So another factor is also mental health issues. That's something that a lot of employees face these days while everyone's working from home, dealing with pressures due to COVID or personal reasons. So what we're doing currently is that we're actually focusing on raising awareness and implementing initiatives that can help feel like our employees are supported during this very hard time. So those are some of the things that we've done in people operations. And now I'll be taking you through some resume and interview tips that will be able to help you make stand out to different employers. So why I say how to pass the 5-second test is research has shown that on average, recruiters spend around 5 to 7 seconds in general to actually look at your resume and decide if they want to continue reading or if they're going to reject you immediately. So some things you can look out for include the formatting. So the format that you choose will heavily influence how your resume or your profile is displayed. So in general, I would say stick to the 1 to 2 page rule. You should be able to fit all of your work experience, your activities, any achievements you have in these 2 pages. And there's a lot of resume templates you can find online that are available to you for free. So for example, Canva, and there's a lot of other websites as well, will actually automatically help you to set up this format so you don't have to put in too much work if you're not a keen designer. So for example, Emily Vu here, she's actually used Spotify as her resume format, and this might not work for everyone. So this is something that might work in a more creative field or for a more progressive company, but do consider your future occupation or your potential employer when you're deciding on how you should actually format the resume or which template to go with. So we're going to have a bit of an activity here. So I want to get your feedback on which resume you think is better. So you can put it in the chat below, whether you want to go with the left one or the right one, and what you think would make a candidate stand out. Okay, so a lot of people are saying the right one. Personally, I would agree with that. So in terms of the layout, the left one has a lot of text, which makes it not appealing to the eye. In terms of the right one, there's limited color use, which is good. You can always decide on which colors you want to use. It's completely up to you. But in general, the information is presented in a very nice way. And also in terms of the skills, it's very easy to read, whereas this one is just looking like paragraphs. So you might not necessarily get the job, even if you're the most qualified person for the job. So I have a couple other examples. So this is more maybe relevant to computer science graduates. The one on the left is a computer science resume, and the one on the right is a software engineering resume. So which ones do you think would be better in this case? The left or the right? Okay, so I've got some mixed responses there. Some are saying left, some are saying right. Suzanne says both. So basically, for me personally, I would say either one works. It depends on how you want to structure your resume. So they are both presented in a fairly nice way. They have the relevant information, and it also has all the skills presented here as well. So it's really up to you and your own decision of how you want to present yourself. So either of these options would work, and I would say that I would still continue to read them if I were to receive both of these resumes. So moving on, I'll be talking a bit more about the content. So in terms of listing your skills, so the reason I say it's overrated is because people tend to just list a whole bunch of skills that they might feel that they have. So one common thing is I'm a team player who can also work independently. So yeah, that probably applies to everyone in this room. And that's because it's very general, it can apply to everyone, and it's something that we read very often as recruiters. So something you can do to actually stand out is back up these statements with actual relevant experience. So if you want to say you're a team player, you can talk about any group activities or projects that you've done. If you want to say you can work independently, show some of your achievements or personal projects that you've completed on your own. So one thing to do instead of just listing all those skills is actually think about the keywords in the job description you're looking at. So this will not only be picked up by the applicant systems that a lot of companies use, but it'll also help you to stand out because you're showing that you've summarized the content of what is in the job description and what's required and actually applied it to your own personal profile. So in terms of research, I'll just briefly go over this, but essentially research is what's going to help you pass that interview. So research the industry and the company, be aware of what's going on in the market, read articles about current trends, understand that there's different sites that are avenues you can check. So there's the company website, you can check reviews, understanding the company history, how it came about, products and services they offer, and the type of clients they work with as well. And in terms of the role, be prepared to talk about why you wanted to apply. Try to make it personal to you, and also explain what you aim to learn from this position so that the employers can find out more about what you're aiming to achieve in this role. And in terms of yourself, so if I were to ask you right now, tell me about yourself, how would that make you feel? So from that, you might feel a bit nervous, or you'd automatically go with, oh, I'm a computer science graduate, I'm currently studying at the Singapore Institute of Management, the more generic things. But we also do want to find out about your hobbies and interests. What are your aspirations in life? Do you see yourself as managing a team? Do you want to be a CEO of a company? What are your goals? And also talk about your work experience. So apart from just listing it down in your resume, be able to talk about what you actually learned. So as DJ said, focus more on the key takeaways or the learnings that you actually got from that job experience rather than just what you did simply. And in terms of your interviewers as well, so sometimes you'll be able to know who's interviewing you. So it's best that this is the only time I'll actually recommend stalking, but you can actually search them online, look at their LinkedIn profiles, understand what they have done, how did they get to their current roles. And this will actually help you to build rapport on the day of the interview. You'll be able to talk about common or shared experiences. Maybe you both went to the same university. And that way you can also understand what they like about working at the company. And last but not least, I would say it's very, very important to ask questions. Asking questions will not only make you seem interested in the role, but help you understand whether the job is really for you. So try to be prepared for this and come up with original questions. So a lot of questions we hear are, what's the work culture like? What is the salary? What is the working hours? And that's completely fine, but do have other more original questions that you can ask that will actually make you stand out and make you be able to find out more information. So for example, how can I impress you in my first 3 months? Or what can I do to prepare for this job before you even join? And that shows an interest in actually wanting to learn more or be prepared for the role before you even start on day one. So that was a bit about my experiences at Superhands and some general tips for all of you as well. Now I'll be talking about who we are and what our super family is all about and how you can actually apply and join us. So in terms of our people, we call ourselves a super family. So we currently have 49 employees, 4 interns and 10 part-timers, which are project associates, as DJ said. We also have people from 10 different nationalities. So we have people, like, as I mentioned, including remote hires from different countries. Our average age is 29, so we're a relatively young company and we have relatively young people to join that as well. And in terms of diversity, we have over 50% of women in leadership roles. That also applies to our tech team, which is 50% female. And apart from that, we have super pets included in our super family. So we're a bunch of animal lovers. So moving on to our core beliefs and what we believe in, which actually drives our culture and the work environment we have. So we believe that everyone gets a voice, regardless of if you're an intern or the CEO. You can always suggest new things, give feedback on what you feel isn't very efficient or other ways to do things. And we always hear out everyone's voices. Your career has no limit. So this means that if you're not learning, you're not progressing. That's what we like to say. So as Dr. Lin mentioned, he's still continuing to get certificates, qualifications. Your learning never grows, regardless of if you're a manager and you're constantly learning new things every day here. And in terms of flexibility and trust, so we give you the autonomy to actually schedule your own workday according to what goals you have to deliver on and what you need to achieve. So you can actually plan out your own schedule according to how you like. So we give you full autonomy and we trust all our employees to work from home as well. So here's some examples of some activities we've done. So we actually had a female bodybuilder come in and speak with us about her experience in the industry and what it's like and how she got there. And this is a picture of us during Halloween. So everyone's dressed up here. That's why there's a lot of people wearing strange things. And moving on, we have our Chinese New Year celebration. So this is when we virtually celebrated Chinese New Year because we couldn't do it in the office. So we still continue to organize a lot of virtual events to keep everyone engaged. So in terms of the careers at Superhands, you might be interested in applying to us after hearing our talk today. So what you can do is actually take a look at our careers website. So I've highlighted some relevant roles here, including software engineering and data science that you might be interested in as a computer science graduate or student. However, we do have a lot of different roles if you are looking to explore different avenues or if you're a student in a different field. So you can check out our careers website. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like to find out more about what the role involves. And we will be looking at your applications next week if you do apply. In terms of the interview application process, so we usually take around 2 weeks from application to offer. So you can find this information on our careers website as well if you're interested in applying. And thank you for listening so much today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning to come and join us. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself, and we'd be happy to take any questions now.
Thank you, Sophie. And thank you, the super team. Okay, student, is there any question from the floor? You can type at the chat box, or maybe you can just unmute yourself, ask the question from here.
Well, if there's no questions, I would like to ask questions.
Yes,
So,
please, Dr. Julian.
yeah, I have 3 questions for 3 different people. First, I think for DJ, your picture really immediately, just I mentioned, right? You would like to share the picture, right? During the uni time. That's really, I'm really interested in knowing which university you graduate?
Yeah, sure. I graduated from the University of New South Wales in Sydney.
Yes, that's where I was. I graduated there. I know the place. Very, very familiar with the place. I stayed there for 2 years. That's why I know.
Yes, a great uni. Definitely a great uni.
Yeah, I stayed there 2 years before I got my job in Alcatel. And then I really use what Sophie mentioned. It's really, before I get, Alcatel was a good company. I mean, big company, right? It's a French company. So I do search their company, and I was really, just on Sophie mentioned, right? Research. So yeah, hey, you are my schoolmate.
In a way, yes.
And I have another question for Amelia. So yeah, how do you actually learn? Just now you mentioned, right? Empathy is the most important thing, right? Use this just now, right? So I just want to ask, how, just now I mentioned about like some of the skill like emotional intelligence. These are very, very hard to acquire, the skill. So I would just like to ask you how you learn and acquire this empathy.
Okay, that is an interesting question. I think, like you mentioned, it's not something that is easy. It's not like a class, you know, like, oh, lessons in empathy. But one way to get started, if that is something that you want to get into, is really to just start being aware of what is around you, and realizing, you know, that a lot of us are actually in bubbles, right? So like my bubble is my social circle, and actively trying to find ways out of that bubble to see actually what is going on in this world, and to be more kind of like in touch with news that isn't just coming from, you know, your WhatsApp group chat, actually kind of digging through and finding different sources and different perspectives before making your decision. So that is just one way to begin to, you know, work towards understanding other people and how they think.
Okay, great.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, it's actually, I know that actually mostly probably those people, there are two ways, right? And but nature and nurture. I think it's very, very hard for those people that actually don't have it by nature. They need to really learn it. Probably that's why give us a very, very good solution how to learn. And for Sophie, okay, the questions. How do I impress you?
Good question. So we generally look for, you know, candidates who are involved in student life, or they've done projects, internships, something to talk about. So we don't just want you to, you know, get the top grade in your degree. And also communication skills. So I think this is something that was emphasized throughout the whole presentation. So trying to build on your communication skills, whether it's verbally with people during the interview, or even on your resume and how you present your information about yourself. So that will actually influence what we think of you and our perception as well.
Thank you so much. I've been talking a lot and asking a lot of questions.
Thank you.
I learned from DJ. DJ mentioned about it, right? Don't be afraid to share and ask questions, right? So I learned quite a lot of things from your team today. And yeah, very, very vibrant team. Okay. Yeah, it's, I think, yeah, good. Yeah, I myself want to join you.
Oh, it appears that there is a question. Sorry, Yvonne, are you going to unmute? Because I saw,
Yeah. Just want to share, there is a question from the floor here. A question is to DJ. Hi, may I know if you face any challenge on transitioning into different roles and how you overcome them?
That's actually a great question. So when I transitioned from Deloitte to Superhands, right, it was just maybe a month into the company itself. And that's when COVID hit and everything went virtual. I think personally, it was a really hard challenge because there's a lot of things that you needed to understand and learn. The first 3 months was really tough. I think the best way to go through it is asking as many questions. Any part of uncertainty, just ask. Because if you're not going to ask them at the start, then throughout the whole time you are at the company, you're always going to feel confused and you're never going to feel like I am ready for it. I can do this. I can take on a new challenge. So in order for you to actually get over the challenge, you need to get that initial challenge that you're facing where you're trying to understand what this company is trying to do. What do I want to learn by being in this company? And the way that I did it was, there were a lot of anxiety attacks and stuff, I will be honest too, because you're trying to understand something differently and you're learning a lot of things differently as well because everything is online. You can't just, approach the person, hey, I have this issue, help me out. You need to either send a message or have a call with them, right? And what I actually did was I listed out the things that I wanted to do and what are the kind of areas that I wanted to pinpoint on. And I actually either just ask them questions or just say, can I take like maybe 5 minutes or 15 minutes of your time and what are the steps that I need to improve on to help myself understand better? And the one thing that I actually definitely did was having colleagues that you can trust on. So anytime you need anything that you can just, quickly ask, have those people that you can rely on because it's really useful where you don't have to always approach the leaders where they are, everyone's busy, right? So have that colleague that you're really close to and you can just ask small questions. As long as you understand better and you overcome yourself, you'll be fine. That's it. What's the best way to ask questions? Okay, this one's a really hard one. But for me, the best way to ask question is be yourself. Ask in a very truthful way where you're trying to understand the core understanding of what you're confused about. Don't just ask in a very vague question. So best way is, how is it that, so say you have an example of doing a project guide, right? And the first question was, how do I do a guide? That's not a question. That's just a too general question, right? Maybe the question you should ask is, what part within this slide that I need to improve? See, those kind of questions make it a lot easier and it breaks it down a lot more. And then us or whoever the colleague is or the leader is, they know which area to help you rather than a very vague thing. And then you're going to feel like I'm just asking questions, but there's no meaning to that question. So always break down your question to a specific area that you want to ask and then move forward with it. Yeah, hope that answers your question too.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question from the floor? Oh, okay. Maybe I can ask this question for Sophie. Sophie, can you share a bit about the working environment in Superhand?
Of course. So as I mentioned, our core beliefs, our work environment and culture is something that we take very seriously and we always try to improve on. So in terms of the work environment, it's a very flexible environment. So you can choose your own work schedule. Regardless of what your team you're working in, you'll be collaborating with different teams on different projects or company initiatives. And in terms of, getting to meet everyone, so we actually use Discord as our communications platform at the moment. And I feel like this is something very unconventional now. Most companies will use like Microsoft Teams. So the reason we do this is because it's instantaneous and it's a very engaging platform. So whether it's work related or not work related, that's what we use. So we have a lot of groups or channels that have to do with different sports, Netflix, investments, so people can actually get to know each other as well. That's especially important as a new joiner when you're first joining the company during a time like this where we're all under lockdown and working from home. You can actually get to meet new people, shared interests, and actually bond over whatever you're passionate about.
Thank you. So I saw something interesting that shared by DJ just now. You have a virtual office?
Yes, correct. So we've actually have it set up a virtual office where everyone can go on there, meet each other, play games. And so we've actually designed it, each team has designed their own rooms for what they'd like there. So it's actually a place where everyone can, meet up as well and kind of have that engagement or interaction with each other.
Yeah, cool. All right. Is there any question? Any students want to ask any question regarding a career or internship with Superhand? Okay, I think it's about time. And yeah, that's all for the day. Before we wrap up, Miss Sophie or the Superhand's colleague, would you have anything else you would like to share to our audience before we do the wrap up?
Just
Okay.
one last thing. Sorry
Mhm.
to cut you up. Just so if you want to apply and you're interested in joining us or knowing more, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or check out our careers website and apply there. So yeah, feel free to apply after this careers talk as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for staying with us today. So we have come to our last chapter of our event. Okay, so we have come to our last chapter of our event. If you have any more questions for our speakers today or any of the information that you would like to know more, feel free to drop us a message or an email to us. You can always chat with us or follow us in our Instagram and also from our Facebook. So thank you all. So that's all for today. Stay safe, everyone.